Just a few hours ago, this morning, Lviv was attacked with multiple rockets landing somewhere in the city. However, the streets are full of life in the city center. Johnny, did you hear the attack in the morning, the explosions?
I heard the two roommates I had go sleep in the corridor, and then because I woke up from this, I heard the sirens, but I didn't hear the attacks. But to be fair, when I'm in Kyiv, I also ignore them. I've got used to it.
Two roommates are actually me and my wife Marta. And since my wife is kind of like sensitive, she told like, Orest, we hear explosions, let's go inside the corridor, closer, you know, like to the center of the building.
To get away from the windows, it's
Yeah,
smart.
to get away from the windows. So basically we have a rule of two walls protection. If you cannot get to the shelter, that's what you do to maximize your protection, is to go inside the building. And you know, still the explosions were kind of far away. It was heard like this. So we were chatting with our friends what's happening. And it appeared to be that on the western part of the city there was a pretty massive attack, I would say. So today we'll try to drive there and see the situation on the ground. And in the meantime, we are walking the city center. It is pretty lively, but here you can see some buses, and those are to go to the funeral. You know, Johnny?
Yeah.
Because there is a church over there, and almost daily, unfortunately, our fallen soldiers are being taken to their last last way. So everybody is daily welcome to then to join the procession. People will sit in those buses and will go to the cemetery. And what is the most surreal is that in the middle of all of this, you can see an absolutely healthy city, right?
Yeah, because you need it. Like people cannot hide underground for 400 days in a row. They need to have a life. The economy needs to continue. People need to work. People need to rest. Life needs to continue. One thing that always makes me feel like Ukrainians are looking forward, they're spending money on renovations. They're like opening new restaurants.
Renovation, of course. Another example, so you have the tour over there, and this monument is just protected in case there could be an attack over here.
And the sandbags as well.
Yeah, some sandbags. And yeah, some people walking around. This is another object, the fairy train, how they call it here in Lviv. And yeah, you see, like people just come by, and then this train will take them around different landmarks around the city. Okay, so we just came to the office of Lviv travel department. Nice to see you guys. And how is tourism doing in the city? Johnny, you want to ask something?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask about this. I know it's possible for tourists to come to Ukraine, especially to Lviv, because it has the easiest border from Poland. All flights are still closed, unfortunately, but it's relatively easy for someone to fly into Krakow or Warsaw and then come to Ukraine. Is it actually helpful for Ukraine for tourists to come now, especially to Lviv?
Of course it does, because like they bring money, and it's a kind of support for our economy. But there are still very few of them. So we hope to see more people, but we cannot encourage them to come to Ukraine these days, because as we are in the official authorities, and we cannot guarantee the safety.
Yes.
But we recommend, if you will follow the security measures, so hopefully, I think now nothing will happen.
Yeah. Well, actually,
you can be a kind of an example.
Yeah.
During
this night. I think of it as the safety-wise of being somewhere like Lviv is very similar to being in like Bali and riding a motorbike. Like it's not safe, but people do it because they realize, okay, I want this experience, and I will take the 1% risk. As long as people are aware of that before coming, I think it's okay. My question though is more like my fear is people will come and they will see Lviv is beautiful, everyone is just out having a good time, and maybe they will go home and say, oh, there's no war, because they don't see what is happening in the east, they don't see what happened to the deoccupied places. So that's why I'm always very skeptical about telling people like, oh, just come to Lviv, even though I think it will help the economy. And if the right people come, they can put a good message out there for the world.
It's quite hard for people to follow our our experience here, because we used to live during like almost 2 years in this kind of circumstances. So we are quite flexible. We can have air alert in the night without damaging our buildings, but early in the morning we are doing the ordinary things we used to. And it's like, it looked like the life is normal, but it's normal over our experience.
However, as the unofficial ambassador of the city, I have the authority to invite you to Lviv, guys. And obviously, if you follow like basic, you don't have to follow basic precautions. Like you have just to carry on, and everything will be probably fine over here. Yeah, anyway, we organized already some international events in the city which show that it's possible to come here, and we are organizing in October a big event for travelers together with Nomad Mania, portraying Ukraine during this time, you know, and we were going to visit not only Lviv but also Kyiv and Kharkiv to show the different pictures of the country, which is rather an educational visit to provide like an understanding to situation here, and also to show a signal to the entire world that the country is ongoing, it's functioning, and local people are doing their best to keep up. So whenever you are planning to come here, the airports are closed, but there is a way to cross the border landwise and even on foot. I have another video where I showed how does it work technically. And welcome if you manage to come to Lviv. I'll be more than happy to show you around. It's a nice office here, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. And
it's like,
it's nice that they are already thinking about how to bring more tourists back to Lviv.
so it's working. You see in the center of Lviv. Actually, this was serving as the hub for journalists during the early stage of the war. Yeah, you can sit over there. Yeah, you can make an honorable speech to the people.
So listen, Lviv is a beautiful city. You need to come visit. It's the best city in Lviv region.
Okay, here it is. Why didn't you tell in Ukraine?
No, it's like my favorite tourist city in Ukraine.
Okay, that works. So anybody can just come here, get a map.
One map, one hand.
One map into one hand. Okay. Would you like to have one, or you already can navigate without this?
You are my navigator.
I'm your navigator. But otherwise, guys, everybody is welcome here.
Yeah.
So what is the address?
Address Ruska Street, number 20.
So now we are going to drive a little bit outside the city center and try to see the area of attack. First, like, you know, you have to get out the downtown with these like narrow streets, which is a tricky place on itself to go. This is the place actually where I play tennis. Check it out, yeah. And we'll be following through the tram tracks. Now will be one of my favorite neighborhoods in Lviv. You will see it very soon. So if you're watching this, you can, on both sides there are some old villas here dating back to late Austrian period. And yeah, some of the wealthiest people in Lviv actually live in this area. So it has developed this public infrastructure over here, and in general, nice, quiet, lively neighborhood.
What's the name of this district?
It's called Новый Свет, like a new world, but it was a new world in the 19th century. Just check it out, right? All of these things. Yeah. Okay, so we are entering the new part of the city here with some development on the both sides here and there as well, on the right. And just by crossing the train tracks, yes, which was kind of the ring road of the city now, this is already part which was developed in the Soviet Union. Johnny, this is the Sovsar office, the main headquarters. Like you remember the guy whom we met with the Superhumans, yeah, the owner.
Yeah, donated. They donated $1 million. To
Yeah, so the Superhumans. So you know, like in Lviv, the community is like really interconnected, and basically we tell that Lviv is a 1 million population village because mostly people know each other, which obviously affects your behavior, I would say, because you know respect is very important within the society, and just you know trust, relations, like this what's really in value here, I believe.
Here we have the Khrushchevkas.
Khrushchevkas are actually 5-story building. I'll show you Khrushchevkas.
Yeah.
I think the affected area where we're going now, there are some Khrushchevkas because I was actually born and like my first 3 years of life I spent in that area. That's why it's very personal to me as well. And also here, when we approach the intersection, we will see some Khrushchevkas. Let me just take a look. Oh, there they are. So this 4-story building on the left side, this is a classic Khrushchevka. It's the shittiest type of Soviet residence possible. And the idea behind it is that during the rapid industrialization after World War II, Nikita Khrushchev, which was the next leader of the Soviet Union after Stalin died, he decided, like, okay, let's move over 20 million people in Ukraine from rural areas to the cities, to support all this industrialization, so that this kind of like typical standard housing was developed all around the country. In Lviv it's less visible because it was a big historical area, but many cities in the east are basically built out of those Khrushchevkas.
But these are built at the same time, yes?
Yeah, so these buildings, like this is actually my street where I lived during my early years as well. So these are built in the 80s, I believe so.
So the reason why Khrushchevkas are only 4 stories high, or at most 5, is because that's the maximum limit that most people are willing to walk and not have an elevator. So they save money on that.
This is the building where I spent most of my childhood.
Across from this is a nice church.
Yes, a nice church.
What kind of church is it?
It's an Orthodox church, but it's a new one, yeah. And you see on there, like behind the street, this 9-story building is where my actually granny lived until recently. Still.
How do you feel passing by here?
How do I feel? I have some. Okay, that one. I feel some nostalgia, but not too much, because since the last almost 20 years, I'm mostly hanging out and living in downtown, in the historical area. So I'm more attached to that. So when I come here, I have some slight memories from my childhood, where you were, like. It's actually not a bad place to raise a family, because you have all your neighbors around you. You spend most of your time outside on the street playing with kids, not being stuck with a lot of like urbanization. There are a lot of green spaces here. It was. I don't complain at all. I had a beautiful childhood, I believe so. Then there are some schools, gyms around. I used to play tennis. We had football matches, building against the building. It was a good childhood, absolutely.
All right, so just in front of us should be the area that was hit by the Russian missiles. We don't have that much information, just because they try to keep a little bit of hush-hush, just so Russia doesn't know what exactly they hit. But we do know it hit at least a few residential buildings. So let's go take a look.
You see, it's locked. There are police. They don't let.
Oh wow, windows are smashed. The rocket attack.
In case we are asked, I have my press card, which is issued by the Ministry of Defense, basically giving us a legit reason to report.
Wow,
and
he's already fixing the glass. You see that?
So we're inside the neighborhood already, and many windows are destroyed over here, as you can see. And let's see how it is inside. This is kind of a big event for our city, because not very often you have attacks like this in Lviv. This is actually the building where I was born, all the way back in 1987. Not really born, but grew up, and my family lived there back then. And this place was really, really close where it's hit. So the entire neighborhood is locked around. Luckily, we are allowed to come inside, and it feels like there was some kind of hurricane or so. And that building, you see, was damaged.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's like a big impact, right? Look at this.
Do you have any information about
Process is doing here. Yeah, big stuff. And there is like an attack that was there by the rocket. I was just asked about the casualties. Like, no, actually in Lviv there are no casualties.
No casualties.
There was a massive attack in a few different cities. There are casualties in other towns like Khmelnytsky. But in Lviv, the attack was pretty large, but fortunately no people died. And as you can see, like mostly civilian objects are.
But it's also hard to know specifically, because a lot of times they'll say nobody's died, but there's 4 people or 20 people in the hospital. or 20, 30 people missing. And normally a few days later, some people don't survive, but then that's already out of the news cycle on other people's heads. So it's always important to say nobody's died so far. There's no casualties so far.
Let's hope no casualties will be.
So, Orest, what do you think? Is this been a misguided, just unprecise attack that was aiming for a legitimate military target, or was it deliberately going here into the residential area?
Johnny, what do you think?
I mean, Russia always claims they're aiming at something, but at the end of the day, they shouldn't be sending missiles into their neighboring countries anyways. Ukraine isn't at a war, they're being invaded. They're being attacked by Russia. Ukraine didn't say, I want to fight you, let's go fight. Ukraine's like, look, stop hitting us, like, get out of our country. But Russia just keeps sending their troops here anyways, and their missiles all the way here. We're like close to Poland.
We're like in the middle of residential areas.
Yeah, like what is here? Like, okay, yeah, maybe there's a few people that are on vacation from the front line and they happen to live here because that's where they grew up. Is that a valid military target? Maybe there's a hospital that's mostly it's a maternity hospital or for kids, but maybe a few wounded soldiers happen to be there. Is that a valid military target? If military guys are eating at McDonald's, does that mean McDonald's is a valid target? It's like a very loose term that Russia likes to use. At the end of the day, like, Russia knows that they have really imprecise missiles that often land in a lot of places. A lot of times, if it is, like, let's say, a valid, like a military building or somewhere, and Ukraine has to shoot it down or it'll cause a bigger explosion, unfortunately those might land on someone's house. So it's always really difficult, but it's also always Russia's fault.
And those things are really, it's a legit war crime. So yeah, we need to remember this, we need to speak about this and show basically what cruelty is happening here. It's also worth mentioning about the destructive force of such explosions. So first of all, it affected many buildings in the neighborhood, but also even like further away, like from there, the shrapnels just go all around, and you see it went from there. People are now fixing the window over here, and here is like the evidence. So something really big just went inside the car and it could easily kill a person. So even the buildings on the opposite side of the street are damaged. Wow. And that window you see over there, oh wow, entire neighborhood is affected actually. Just imagine what people lived through this night when the attacks were coming. So Nick, have you seen anything like this? You're a policeman from the United States. Like, whoa, what can you tell about what you've seen here?
Like this, nothing in the U.S. Nothing even close. There's some sort of, people misbehaving and some sort of small explosions, but this is on a whole nother level. The closest thing I can say that I've seen to this is I did a tour of Borodyanka, Irpin, and Bucha, and I saw some of the destroyed buildings. Those were long since destroyed, but there were still the remnants of people's lives there. This is very fresh, obviously just a couple hours ago. I was actually just saying that I woke up to the air alarm, so it's very surreal to be here to see what happened, because you read about it or you hear a strike hit, but I heard the air sirens, which means the bombing was right after that, and now I'm seeing the aftermath, and there's no justification for this.
Now we just entered the inner yard, where is a complete mess, as you can see, but people are cleaning it very fast. Oh wow. And this is the building, you can see which one received the biggest hit. There is like a crater, right?
Yeah, it's a children's playground.
So there is a children's playground, and the missile just made the entire crater out of the hit. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. So basically it just hit over here. It's like 3 meters deep and fucked up everything around. Look, the entire neighborhood is basically collapsing. It's very sad to see this happening in your own city. I've seen it in Donbass, I've seen it in the front line in the east. Experiencing this in Lviv is just terrible. Especially I was born just block from here.
Oh my God, guys. Guys, I'm so pissed off, my hands are shaking, I can't even film. Like, what kind of military target is this, guys? Like, this is clearly where like little kids sleep. Like, Russia's gonna take this video and say, oh, this is like barracks for soldiers. I'm like, unless our soldiers are like 3 feet tall, I don't think they were sleeping here. The only reason why I keep going, I guess, is knowing that Ukraine is rebuilt. Like, they don't let Russia stop them. There's literally a pile of brand new windows and mirrors here. There's hundreds of workers, volunteers, staff, people from neighborhoods. They're remounting windows as we speak. And I want to remind you, this happened at 5 this morning, and it's 3 p.m. now. We had lunch, we came straight here, and within a few hours, you have a whole team of people rebuilding the school, some of the apartment buildings, houses you saw. Like, the Ukrainian resilience is amazing. It really is.
Fucking Russia. Yeah.
Fucking Russia, this I understand. I think everyone understands this.
Many people are here, police is here taking the evidence. And also over there you can see other humanitarian organizations that just came in to help, to provide the first resistance support. Even though it's really shocking what we've seen here, there is a slight chance of inspiration, which proves the resilience of Ukrainian people. So just imagine this happens a few hours ago, but at the same time, people clean things, they help each other. So different humanitarian organizations just showed up pretty quickly. They provide assistance to people. There are some clothes. The bathrooms were installed because obviously you cannot live in the building here. So this tells us one more that together we can prevail, and together we have to continue fighting, right? The same as Chris does. So Chris, I'm very grateful that you joined us, and you can finalize this video telling about your initiative and what you are doing actually.
Yeah, I came here with NAFO trucks by the 69th Sniffing Brigade, an organization or initiative by Estonian startup founders collecting money, collecting donations from all over Europe and the rest of the world to buy vehicles and equip them for the defenders of Ukraine. Because the Ukrainians here are defending all our own values, our lives, our futures. So they are giving their blood, and what we can do is at least we can give them the equipment they need to be successful against this invasion. And because of that, we as a community of Estonian e-residents are supporting this as well with an own campaign, and ask for your donation to help end this as quick as possible.
So next to this video I'm going to provide links. It's worth also mentioning that 100% of the donations go directly to assistance of Ukrainians, so you don't process any administration fees, like nothing.
There's no overhead, and everyone putting hands on volunteers in their free time. Yeah. And even puts their own money in.
I must say that I'm also a e-resident as you, so I got a company for my marketing stuff in Estonia. So I kind of like very grateful that you guys mobilized all together, and we are nomads together, right? So there are many things in common, and there are many things in common between Ukraine and the Western world, guys. So let's keep up, and what else can I say? Until the victory of Ukraine and the entire free world. Slava Ukraini! Героям слава!